I'm highly skeptical that Saudi Arabia is targeting North American production. First and foremost, Saudi Arabia runs a $2 billion a month trade surplus with the United States. So why they would want to try and pick a fight with their greatest trade partner is beyond me. No, as far as I'm concerned, if this is a price war, if this is a signal that Saudi Arabia is sending out, this is a chasm between Sunni OPEC and Shia OPEC.
All right, that was from this very program yesterday, folks. That was Stephen Schork. And it's funny because it's Stephen Schork, and he spelled it as a reference to him at the end of the show yesterday, S-T-E-P-H-E-N. I told him that, I think off the air, that I too spell mine officially S-T-E-P-H-E-N. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Stephen Moore, chief economist for the Heritage Foundation, also spells it S-T-E-P-H-E-N. Am I correct, sir?
It's the cool way to spell it.
Yeah, so we got the troika here, you, me, and Schork. Wow. Welcome back, my friend. Always great to talk to you. Okay, so this whole thing, these low oil prices, what does it mean for our economy? I mean, we talked yesterday with Schork about, Saudi Arabia and Putin and everything, but what does it mean for us?
Well, there's nothing not to like about this story. It's an amazing story of economic revival. It's a great story of technological prowess in the United States that, thanks to technologies like horizontal drilling and fracking, the United States has literally, in the last 6 or 7 years, gone from becoming an incredibly energy-dependent nation to being on the verge of being an energy-independent nation. The reason that gas prices are falling right now is because the biggest producer in the world right now is the United States when it comes to oil and natural gas. And so how can you have a cartel that drives up prices when the biggest producer is not part of that cartel? And that's the United States. It's just, by the way, why these lunatics on the left, these protesters, no fracking, they don't want oil, they don't want gas, they don't want coal. They're crazy people who are trying to disrupt our economic expansion, take away jobs. And these people are crazy. They shouldn't be treated as if they're some kind of, people who care about the environment. And they're people who are nuts who are trying to move us back to the Stone Ages.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And did I see that Saudi Arabia? I said I wouldn't talk about Saudi Arabia, but that they're kind of declaring war on shale.
Well, look, this has been a big problem for them, right? The fact that shale oil and gas has become a big competitor to Saudi oil and gas, and by the way, to Russian natural gas. Putin is having a big problem right now at home. The ruble is crashing. This is hurting our enemies, Steve. So it's great news. I mean, it's hurting the terrorists. It's hurting Putin. It's hurting OPEC. Every time we drill more oil and more gas in this country, we put another nail into the coffin, the people who are trying to either destroy us physically or destroy our economy.
All right, you wrote a great piece, how much Obamanomics, say that one time slow, has cost us. And, we've talked about different variations of this same kind of issue. And it just goes on. And he shows no sign of backing down. And because of everything else that's going on in the world and in this country, it just seems like it gets lost, except when, great people like you step up and put it to the fore again.
Maybe it's because the numbers are so big right now, we become almost anesthetized as a nation to this. So you probably saw the news yesterday that, hooray, we just passed the $18 trillion mark on the national debt. Did you see that, Steve?
Yes.
18 trillion. Now, it's amazing. When I first came to town, which was, I'm getting older, a little gray hair coming in, but the national debt was about 2 trillion. That was, less than 30 years ago. Now we have $18 trillion of debt. By the way, this has happened under Republicans. It's happened under Democrats. It's happening in spades under this Democrat. But, this has been the pattern regardless of who's running Congress and who's running the president. We just run up these bigger and bigger debts. And the reason this is so troubling is that if we start to see interest rates rise, if they were to start going, the 10-year Treasury is now at maybe 2.3%. If it were to start to rise to 3 to 4 or maybe 5%, which would hardly be, out of character with respect to where we've been historically, we're going to see gigantic increases in just servicing the debt. I mean, how do you service an $18 trillion debt? We're going to be paying, you and I are going to be paying our taxes. A big bulk of it's just going to go to pay the service on the debt.
And by the way, Stephen, another story that I also saw yesterday or the day before was that the government is taking in more money than ever before from our taxes.
Right. But, you know, it's a revenue problem, right? Nobody in Washington seems to get it. And it's a spending problem that, you know, when I first came to Washington, the budget was a little less than $1 trillion. Now the budget is closing in on $4 trillion. You know, we did make some changes in the laws that brought spending down for some of the, what we call the discretionary programs. What we have not done inexcusably is that President Obama refuses to deal with any of these mega welfare and entitlement programs that are driving the budget. And if we don't do something about it soon, you know, this $18 trillion debt is going to be 20 trillion, 25 trillion. How much longer can this go on before the balloon bursts? I don't know the answer to that, but it's worth of us all asking that question. We just saw a bubble burst, 6 years ago in the housing market, and think about how painful that was, Steve. This could be doubly painful.
Yeah, no, and I was going to ask you the answer to that question, but if your mind doesn't know the answer, I know it
will burst. You know,
yeah, you know, and that's a frightening enough scenario, Steve. Frightening enough scenario. Hey, great to talk to you, my friend. We'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve.
Stephen Moore, ladies and gentlemen, chief economist at the Great Heritage Foundation. And we'll be back with a member of the Hoover Institute's Board of Overseers. His name is John Jordan. But first, tax advisor. Michael Daskal, he's going to tell us ways to lower your estate taxes. Don't miss it.
You're watching Max to Money.
We've all heard it. Death and taxes are the only two certainties in life. You can't avoid death, but it's worth exploring how to lower your estate taxes so you can limit Uncle Sam's piece of the pie.
If you've been successful enough to accumulate a substantial amount of assets, you can lower or eliminate your estate taxes. There's a lot of ways to do it. It requires sophisticated planning. You have to coordinate with your CPA and your legal advisor, but effectively there are ways to get assets out of your estate at substantial discounts and avoid paying millions of dollars down the road.
The benefits and the detriments of the various techniques vary depending on the individual circumstances of the persons using them. It's important to huddle with your financial advisors and your attorney to figure out the best plan for you, whether that includes gifting, transferring your money, and/or creating a trust. I'm Hannah Ostapchuk.
Get more money news at Newsmax.com.